It's like he wants this unyielding, unconditional dedication that a dog can give. All them crazy men be wanting. That unconditional dog love. You know, that's why he chose that to sure. Bless her heart.
I don't hear nobody out there. Hold it down. Hold it down.
Things got so bad that I began to contemplate my mother's murder. Night after night, I would think the act all the way through, play the steps over and over in my mind. First, go in the living room, then kick her in the stomach and make sure she falls out the window. Then all of my pain will be over. The same year, my father left Yonkers and moved to Philadelphia. He said it was a place where he could make a living for himself selling his paintings. By this time, he had two other sons, Joseph Jr. and Jesse, who he had by his girlfriend, Kathy, the white woman my mother had told me about. They had been living together in this small house on Woodworth Street. Pause. I'm sure the mammy was mad because he chose the white woman over her. He ain't like you, DMX mama. He just ain't like you. By this time, he had two other sons, Joseph Jr. and Jesse, who he had by his girlfriend, Kathy, the white woman my mother had told me about. They had been living together in a small house on Woodworth Street. I had actually gone over there a few times. Kathy would move two beds together for my brother Joe and me to sleep on. Joe was only a few years younger than me, but Jesse was still a baby, so he would be in a crib crying. My father was rarely there. The times my father was around in the house, I couldn't find a connection with him. The times my father tried to do something nice for me always seemed to backfire as well. That's because he probably don't know what to do with your crazy ass. He probably scared of you, Earl. Where have you been? I ran away, Mama. But you got a bed right here. You had me worried sick. It didn't matter to me anymore. Home was the last place I wanted to be. My father was gone. My mother still refused to let me live with my grandmother, so I took to the streets. I didn't care if I didn't have any money or I wasn't going to school. At least I would be in control of my own life. How old is this nigga? Is he 8? Like, nothing in this book says, now that I'm a grown man, I realize how unreasonable I was and that I needed some kind of mental health. Nothing in this book I'm reading so far says that. Okay, I'll keep moving. Why are you doing this to yourself? My mother would ask me when I showed up at the door after surviving on my own for a few days. Many nights outside by myself, I crawled into the clothing bins they kept outside the Salvation Army in Getty Square. It was warm and I knew no one would find me. My mom never looked for me. I guess she felt that if I wanted to stay lost, there was nothing she could do about it. This is foreshadowing to me for how his relationship with his wife went. It was like, I'm going to drive her crazy. And if she tolerates me, then she's the one. That might be why he chose that lady. What he's doing to his mother is outrageous. I did a lot of thinking when I was out there by myself. I was lonely, but I was determined not to go home. After a while, though, it's hard not to go crazy when you don't have anyone to talk to. Child, go crazy. Earl, you already crazy. You are the epitome of fucking crazy. Now he's going through this phase with dogs. It's like he wants this unyielding, unconditional dedication that a dog can give. All them crazy men be wanting. That unconditional dog love. You know, that's why he chose that to sure. Bless her heart. And you got to find a certain kind of woman to deal with that. And dogs will give you that unconditional love. So now he then started falling in love with dogs. And he equates love or expects love to be what his relationship with dogs is, but you don't understand. Your mother still got this unconditional love for you. Once I got a dog to trust me, he was loyal to me and wouldn't let any harm come my way. And when I noticed how everyone was scared of them anyway, how when I was with my dog, the older kids that would normally try to diss me and take advantage of me suddenly started to move away. That gave me the heart as a young ninja to deal with anything that came up the hood. It used to be this boy named Numb back home on Moore Street. That little boy was so lost. He reminds me a lot of DMX, but I'm sure we've all come across some DMXs in the hood, okay? But this little boy used to create relationships with dogs and sick them on people. Because people would make fun of him because he was so dirty. He was dirty. Not me. I didn't make fun of the little boy. I knew the little boy was crazy. So I stayed far away from his ass. But he loved my little sister. And I mean, he would do anything to get her attention. What Numb would do is use dogs as a tool to keep people away from him. Then after a while, he would use the dog as a form of intimidation. These are just regular street dogs. These ain't his dogs. These is street dogs. And in the hood, it be dogs everywhere without homes. Mutts, dogs and cats everywhere. It be alley cats and street dogs everywhere. And the little boy and DMX create relationships with them. That's crazy to me. But now that I'm reading this, now I know why the little boy Numb did it. And with a child's mind, all I knew was he was just a little dirty little boy who hung around dogs, and tried to sick dogs on people. These were like dogs. These were like out of street dogs. You people in the suburbs don't know about that. You people in the suburbs don't know nothing about dogs roaming around, walking around, just dogs everywhere. You like, what the fuck, whose dog is this? Nobody's. Growing up in the hood by myself without my dog, I probably would have been taken advantage of. Would have been forced to snap or wild out on a ninja to get any respect. But with my dog, the respect came a lot easier, and that changed everything. She said we were just going to look around, but the day we went to visit Children's Village School for boys, my mother had me wearing a pair of orange slacks with a yellow button-down shirt and black shoes. Not only did the outfit make me doubt that we were just there for a tour, but it also gave the other kids a first impression of me that would be very hard to overcome. I was the only one on the campus who wasn't wearing jeans and sneakers, but I was supposed to be the straight thug. It was lunch hour when my mother and a social worker named Charles White walked into Corliss to meet Miss Santos, the head of the college. Santos introduced me to all the kids, and most of them just shrugged their shoulders and didn't speak to me. So I just went into the living room and minded my business. So how do you like it, Earl? My mother asked me when she got back. It's all right. Well, I think you're going to stay here for a little while. What? Mama, you mean I'm not going home? Home? Earl, that ain't been your home since you started running away. Now I see why he treated Tashir like this. This is the reason why. Tashir was always there to take his ass back. But it takes a certain kind of woman to have that wherewithal. Tashir had to have some issues herself in order to deal with that bullshit. What, Mama, you mean I'm not going back? Let's just see how you like it. I was in shock. I knew we were coming to a group home, but I never thought my mother would drop me off at one with no warning. Do you deserve the warning, Earl? I didn't have any of my clothes with me. You mean I'm staying right now? You're staying right now. Yes. I decided the only way to cope was to stay to myself. The small library in the living room of the cottage wasn't as nice as the one I had at Andrus, but reading was a salvation for me. For the first weeks, while the other kids played cards or challenged each other at ping pong table, I spent my time sitting in the big lounge chair reading. I really missed my dogs. Everyone at Children's Village went to school from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We would walk over as a cottage together to the second building and then split up into our respective classes. Child, that's called socialization. They're trying to get your ass to socialize and be able to deal with different people. That's why education is so important. It's not always about what you learn in regards to books. It's about socialization. When you get to high school, you got to meet other people, and especially in college, you got to go different buildings, different classes. You got to learn how to socialize and deal with people. That's why they put you in so many groups. I know in the criminal justice field, you was always in some kind of group doing a project, but that was so they can get you to be able to work with other people and be productive. Okay, because that's what the real world is about. Going in the workplace and being productive with people you don't know, people you have to tolerate. I was placed in the advanced RCT class, which meant that in addition to doing the usual 8th grade coursework, I had to prepare for the 9th grade statewide exam at the end of the year. Children's Village was where I discovered the joy of running. We started running track. Some little boys, like, okay, pause. I always be wondering why more parents don't get their children into sports. Like, to me, sports gives the child a sense of discipline. I don't understand why some parents just keep their kids stuck up in the house. Maybe if his mother had gotten him, and she ain't got the tools, we know this, but maybe it's if his mother got her child in some kind of after school activity, he wouldn't be around here creating relationships with dogs. Maybe he would look forward to running track for his school every day. That energy that he has, that could focus him. I'm telling you, sports be saving a lot of people. Okay? But anyway, now he in love with running track. Children's Village kept you for a month without letting you see your parents so that you would get used to being away from home. Child, he was good with it until the holidays. When the holidays came around and they was like, okay, this is Children's Village. It's time to come get Earl. And his mama was like, I got peace in my house. Keep that motherfucker. Oh, he was mad. He was in his feelings. Now, I know you all are probably looking at the mother like, why she do that? She probably got peace of mind. This is the first time she get to close her eyes and not have to worry about if her son is getting attacked or molested out there on the street. That's something that he don't understand. He is so fucking selfish. I cannot understand it. He is ridiculously selfish. But you know, them fire signs be crazy selfish, child. It's everybody else's fault but their own. I was looking forward to being back in Yonkers, going over to my grandmother's house, running around with my uncles, finding some more stray dogs. See what I'm saying? What you gonna do? All you want to do is just be back in Yonkers to get into bullshit. My mother never gave a good explanation. It was early in the evening before I cooled down and stopped throwing things around the cottage. I felt angry, more than fucking angry. I felt rage. Only the orphan kids didn't get to go home for the holidays, and now me. I wouldn't get to see my dog. I wouldn't get to chill on the roof. I would miss Sunday dinner. It wasn't Miss Santos's fault. She always treated me with respect. That night, she took me and all the staybacks to the movies. Most afternoons in the cottage after school, someone would bring their boom box down to the common room and turn the radio to 98.7 KISS FM or WBLS, New York's 2 R&B stations. At the time, those stations weren't playing hip-hop because the music was considered too ghetto for their 25-year-old audiences and was thought of as nothing more than a passing trend. Facts. But occasionally, a jam with a hard enough bass line would come over the airwaves and kids could spit a rhyme over the top of something by the Gap Band or Donna Summer. I didn't know anything to say, never thought of a rhyme in my life, so I would just stand to the side and jam to the music. Miss Santos tried to discourage us from rapping. She said it was silly to talk over someone else's singing, but rhyming in the radio became more and more fun as kids started challenging one another to see who could say the flyest or the freshest rhyme. It didn't take long for me to start feeling left out. So the first weekend I was allowed back to Yonkers, I made sure I stayed up to tape record Mr. Magic's Rap Attack show off the radio. Each week during his 3.5-hour set, Mr. Magic debuted a few exclusive tracks he knew his audience would have never heard before. The night I was taping, I heard Houdini's 5 Minutes of Funk. Oh yeah, for the very first time, and I got an idea. Ain't nobody gonna know about this, I said to myself before I spent the next few hours memorizing the song's second verse. It was brand new in the middle of the master mix, so I just knew I could take it back to Children's Village and say it like it was mine. The plan worked like a charm. The kids in the cottage gave me props for coming up with a hot rhyme, and my love for all things hip-hop began. During the next home visit, I began to notice that more and more kids in YO were getting into hip-hop. Reddy Ron was from Brooklyn, and he was the best rapper that I ever heard. I thought he was nice to the point that no one on or off the radio could F with him. Ron liked the aggressive attitude he saw me have around the way, and one night asked me to do a beat for him while he rapped. Ron could rhyme for like 5 or 6 minutes straight, so I remembered having to keep my mouth moving for a real long time. But I did it. And right after that, he asked me to be his partner. Ron was 27, more than 10 years older than I was, but it was cool because I didn't hang out with many people my age anyway. And when he said he wanted me to roll with him, to be with him wherever he would perform or do small shows, I agreed without a second thought. But I needed a name. DMX was the name of one of the best early drum machines a lot of the kids were using. And since I felt I was nice with the beats, I took that. Now this is confusing. Because, matter of fact, it's not confusing because actually DMX can mean a lot of things. But we had found out, or we learned that DMX stood for Dark Man X. Some of you, other people in the comments said that DMX stood for the name of a beat machine. Okay, so to me, I don't care. It's just profound that reading this book now and hearing that DMX could also stand for Dark Man X is jarring to me. But anyway, when he got back to Children's Village, they stopped calling him Crazy Earl and started calling him DMX. Yeah, that's not cute. When people call you Crazy Earl, that's not funny to me. When I was younger, my mother's friend Thelma used to come over to our apartment all the time. I remembered Thelma because she always used to cheer my mother on when she was giving me a beating. You better go ahead and teach him a lesson, Nat. She had 2 daughters of her own, so when they came over, my sisters and I would have a sleepover with them in the living room. My big thrill didn't come from sleeping so close to girls that weren't my sisters. It came when I walked into the bathroom one morning while Thelma was getting dressed. She was pulling up her stockings, and I noticed that she didn't have any panties on. It took her a couple of seconds to realize that I was staring between her legs, but by that time I had seen all I needed to see. That was my first look at vagina. But it wasn't until my last visit home from Children's Village that I actually got my first piece.
My favorite go-go song. Taking a ride on the east side, made a left on MLK. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful day. Riding high on the west side, looking for a hood rat to play. Won't you come out and play? Won't you come out and play? Hey, taking the ride. Hey, hey, on the south side. Ooh, ooh. Hey, hey, hey. We like that good. Say what?